So, as we continue on the road for Captain America Brave New World, here's our next movie that we will be doing a review for, and that is The Avengers 2012.
The world has changed.
At this point, I doubt anything would surprise me.
We are hopelessly outgunned.
Mr. Stark?
Captain, it's time. I still believe in heroes.
The Avengers. That's what we call ourselves.
Earth's mightiest heroes type thing. I have an army.
We have a Hulk.
Look, man, what is there not to say about this movie? I mean, this movie is just everything and more. It's a perfect team up movie. It's the first real team up movie. I mean, there's been other team up movies, I guess, but not to this scale and this concept, especially on a more like worldwide cinematic experience, Marvel, the cinematic universe. But, you know, this movie, just like the rest of Phase 1, really, Iron Man and Captain America, the First Avenger, it's another movie that's a comfort film that I revisit all the time, just to rewatch. I mean, the whole movie shot in IMAX. The music is great. Even the some of the like actual songs that they select for this movie is just top notch. Everyone brings their personality, brings their A game as, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Bruce Banner, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, Loki, even, I guess Thanos didn't say anything, but, you feel his presence at the end of the film, at the post-credit scene. But, this movie, I don't know what to say. The acting is amazing. The story is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy like on the scale of like Infinity War and Endgame or even Age of Ultron. But like it did its job. It had a great story, had a great team up, gave a reason for these characters to really work as a team and give them a reason to form together as the Avengers. Just they weren't just brought together. I mean, they were, but then they were given a reason, not to spoil anything. They were given a reason to come together and finally fight off their foe, Loki, which again, Loki, another great villain turned hero later down the road, but he's a great addition, great villain to the MCU lineup of villains, and they did an amazing job with this whole movie. The CGI seems way better than we usually get nowadays. The action, the whole set piece with them teaming up together and the camera panning around them as they, get ready to battle all the, I guess the Chikari, I think that's how you say it, and fighting them. And it's kind of funny how Rocket later down the line kind of like belittles them and saying like, they're no threat. But, this movie is just, again, I love this movie to death. What the MCU does great is that it does an amazing job of world building, but also planting seeds that will later on flourish later on down the road for the MCU, like especially for Avengers Endgame. How the heroes revisit back to the Battle of New York City to gather the stones, but also the whole back and forth with Tony and Steve Rogers, even though it was the Mind Stone, but it was definitely planting that seed. Even though I think back then they weren't planning on doing Captain America Civil War, or at least not that so recent. It wasn't as recent because Avengers came out in 2012, Civil War came out in 2016, but I don't know if they were planning it back then. But they were definitely planting the seed for a future, fight between Steve and Tony. And they actually revisit that again in Avengers of Age of Ultron. But, that's what I love about this. I mean, even the back and forth between Thor and Hulk, and then eventually having that in Thor Ragnarok and, and just future stuff for all these heroes and characters. They kind of really don't do much for Black Widow and Hawkeye. except for that little exchange that they have, you know, because they know each other very well. You can tell there's history there that will eventually revisit later down the line in the MCU, which again, world building. But overall, I love that. I love how this movie and this whole series and the saga really does a lot of world building, at least in, you know, the Infinity Saga. I feel like this movie doesn't get a lot of credit for what it did for the rest of the movie industry and how, or even TV shows and how they're making. I mean, the Arrowverse, you know, just movies in general. I mean, there's been so many other movie studios that have tried to replicate what the MCU did, as in trying to build a universe, and you know, even DC, and how no matter how you feel about those films, eventually they just never were able to really capture the fire, the lightning in the bottle like the MCU did for the Infinity Saga, at least. You know, no matter how you feel about those movies and whatnot later down after the Infinity Saga, but you can't lie. What's there is there. And that's why this movie for me will always be like my top 10 comic book films of all time, because it did so much, you know, with so much at stake, and it could have all fell flat and really destroyed the rest of the MCU just in that one movie. So for it being what it did, I love the movie, I love the actors, I love the action, I love the story, the comic book lore, everything about it. I have to give it a 8.5 out of 10. With that being said, that is my review and rating for Avengers. And the one thing I have to say, and you know, for Captain America, I love what they do with Captain America in this movie. They really kind of show that, you know, he's a man out of time. You know, he comes from a different time, and the world has like grown and evolved, you know, past him. You know, and I mean, he definitely catches up once we get to like the Winter Soldier and Civil War. But like in this movie, it really brings it home that, you know, he's old school. Yes, he looks young, but he's old school, and you know, he's a man out of time. But some of the old style of things, you know, maybe could be used even in today's world. Not everything. Don't. It's not that deep. My point is that, you know, his morals and what he stands for and his code and everything he stands for really flourished and evolved going into the Winter Soldier and Civil War, and the rest of the saga of the MCU, and some of that old school thinking and that mentality and wisdom is really applied in this movie and the future films and shows of the MCU. So, you know, that I think that's the point of the Avengers, and why Captain America, his character arc and what he goes through in this movie is really important for the future of Captain America, and really the symbol of Captain America and what that stands for. The shield, the stars, the red, white, and blue. But yeah, that's my review rating of the Avengers. On to the next one, which will be the Winter Soldier. I'll see y'all next week. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Peace.